Hello there my friends. 2 weeks ago I finished building this tiny T-34 in 1:100 scale from Zvezda, and in that video I promised a little diorama, and today after some time of working on it, I can finally bring you a video of me making this diorama. So let's prepare things that we will need for it and let's start. I got myself a styrene, and then I also built myself a little house for the diorama just to make it a little more interesting. Now I know that I haven't made a video about this house, which may be a little annoying, but I really didn't know what I was actually doing while building it, and it was just a pastime when I was bored, and therefore I haven't made a video about it. But next time I will make a house, I'll definitely make a video, since I will know a little bit more about what I will be doing. Let's start by making the base groundwork. I do the same technique that I did with my previous dioramas. This isn't the best technique, and believe me, I would love to get myself the same ground paste that Night Shift uses, and one day I definitely will, but for now I am using air drying clay and also PVA glue just to create the base, groundwork. I use the PVA glue not to only soften the clay, but it also sticks the clay down to the styrene piece, considering the clay doesn't really want to stick to such a good not rough surface. Anyway, after that is done, I sculpted in some roots for the tank using an older tank with the same chassis. I'll definitely buy myself another model similar to this, maybe not the same caliber of the gun, so I'm not too worried about destroying it. It doesn't look the best anyway. But it's better than using the original model to sculpt in the tracks. And this is another problem with the air drying clay. It just gets everywhere, it's really sticky. It's not the easiest to work with, and I think that can be seen. Anyway, while that is drying, I am going to try attempting to paint this wooden shack. I've never painted a house before. What I did was kind of just brainstorm ideas. I first primed the house with black, since the white base styrene is really not a good surface for painting other colors, as I've noticed from my previous scratch builds. Once that's dry, it kind of worked like a sort of a wash, because the dark gray stayed darker between those little details, which is great. Now I use a flat brown color and also buff color from Vallejo, and I essentially wet blend them on the surface. I first tried making one plank. What I did was first painted with very diluted gray, then I added some of the buff color, then I added more gray, and then I went over it with some water, and after it had dried, it looked quite a lot like a nice, old wood. So what I did was then do it everywhere else. First a layer of very diluted, brown. While that brown is still wet, I apply some buff, and then I blend it around with water until I'm happy with the result. And then after it dries, I go over it with another layer of highly diluted brown, and I repeat that all over the house. This was sort of just brainstorming the idea of painting this house. I've never painted a house before, as I mentioned. So don't take this as a tutorial. I will try perfecting the technique, but at the end, as you will see, it actually ended up looking really nice, and I really like the result. So I'm not gonna change too much, apart from, I guess, being less messy with it. Of course, I painted the insides of the windows with dark gray. You could also put in some transparent plastic or something, or maybe even make the interior, but I didn't need that for such a tiny diorama. Then I painted some details, windowsills, and all of those parts were painted white just to bring some interest. And then I also added some moss. I did that using Russian uniform green. No particular reason why I use this green, it's just probably the best green I have to use for this. Of course I blended that with tap water and then I started applying some dark brown wash. This is the same wash I used on the model. I just don't blend it this time, I just put it all over the model just to make it a little darker and browner. And after that, as you can see, we have a pretty nice looking, easy shack for our diorama. Anyway, once the clay had dried, I positioned the house in the position I wanted, and I figured out where the tank should sit, even though I don't glue the tank down. And then I use Viejo Figma acrylic to sculpt in more of the terrain, mainly on the parts that I left bare with no clay on it, and also around the roots and around the house to blend it in with the groundwork. Of course, I don't really blend this layer because it doesn't really need to be blended. But if you would want to, you of course obviously can blend it to the ground. It's just that I'm going to paint it anyway. I'm also running out of this product, so I'm gonna have to get new one. Then I use the same colors as before to paint the groundwork. Don't worry, it's not going to have the same color as the house. In retrospect, I think the brown is a little too saturated, and that's because I don't have any other browns, because I don't have a stash of all of the Vallejo colors, I only have the ones that I buy. So I will have to buy new colors for future dioramas, because this one just isn't cutting it. I don't like how the groundwork looks, but that's okay in this diorama because it's gonna be covered in snow. I also put in some patches of buff color just to bring more interest, and again, this is just brainstorming and wet blending, because wet blending is really useful. Once all of that's dry, I also pick out all of those roots in the ground using the buff color just to make them more interesting. After that, I put some dark brown wash into the roots, because why not? It'll pick out some of those nice details and make them more dark, which will make them more interesting and visible in the entire diorama spectrum. Of course, I blend that. Yeah, and this is the main part of the ground that's gonna be the most visible. Once all of that is dry, I glue in some more details, like stairs to the house, because the doors are a little too high off the ground. I made those out of styrene. I also put in some planks on the other side, because this is the side you're gonna be seeing the most. I've made a mistake of making the doors on the other side, but yeah, some gravel and also some small patches of grass to stick out of the snow. This doesn't end up looking the best. I know exactly why it doesn't end up looking the best, but you know, this was my first winter diorama. I had no idea what I was doing, apart from, I guess, watching some videos, but And then comes the snow. I use the same Viejo snow acrylic that I used on the T34, and I apply it basically everywhere where I want to apply it. Not everywhere because I want the roots to be visible, but almost everywhere, and I think this really changed the diorama for better. It doesn't look the best, maybe it doesn't look good at all, you will tell me down in the comments, but I really liked the result. I really like the snow, and I wanna try making more snow dioramas in the future, just improve them. I also applied the snow on the roof, on the lower parts of the roof, and then I blended upwards just so it doesn't look like it looks now. But it more looks like it looks here, if you get what I mean, because this looks way better. Look at this. Oh, so beautiful. It looks so cold. So yeah, some snow in the middle of the roots because it would snow, more snow. Everywhere is snow. I know it's spring already, but it was snowing yesterday. As of recording this voiceover, right? That's essentially the diorama finished. So thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that you enjoyed this little, I could call it a tutorial if you like the finish, if you like the finish enough, but I don't think it's the best thing I could have done, so I wouldn't call it a tutorial. But if there are any techniques that you liked, I'm really happy about that. So thank you for watching again. If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like, maybe a subscribe. If you'd like to support me financially so I can make more dioramas, because I am a not working high schooler, please go down to my description. You can find my Patreon there. You will have some bonuses there. So yeah, thank you for watching again, and I will see you in the next video. That will be another Russian vehicle, because yeah.